With us now, Victoria Fontana, who is a professor of peace and conflict studies at the American University of Afghanistan. She's on Skype from Kabul. Nice to have you with us, Victoria. Does this sort of thing, in your opinion, succeed in that it is aimed at putting fear into people, at trying to get them not to go and vote in a week and a half's time? Do you think this sort of thing does succeed in that sense?
Well, I am not sure. I cannot read the minds of Afghan people, but what I can say is that our students here at the university are very concerned, and every day the more attacks take place and the more they are concerned that those attacks are going to derail the democratic process in Afghanistan. This is clearly the aim of the Taliban, and if the attacks continue, if a lower number of people actually go to the polls on the day of elections on the 28th of September, this will definitely delegitimize the outcome of this process. So it could well succeed in delegitimizing whatever is going to result of this election.
I mean, even without these sorts of attacks, I guess, and maybe you can speak to this, people's everyday fears in Afghanistan must be huge. They almost walk out the front door every morning and not know what's going to happen, where it's going to happen, and then, well, in this case, it does happen.
Absolutely, and this is also something that our students tell us on a daily level. What's really important to realize is that those attacks that we see in Kabul are the tips of an iceberg, a much bigger iceberg of violence in the rest of the country. And civilian deaths attributed to pro-government forces at the moment in Afghanistan exceed those caused by anti-government elements. So in a sense, what we see in Kabul is replicated in the rest of the country through airstrikes, through night raids, and through targeted killings perpetrated also by the government of Afghanistan and its international allies.
Victoria, it is attacks like this which have ostensibly led to the breakdown of the peace talks between the United States and the Taliban. Do you believe that that is the case, that the peace talks are over completely, or actually that there is still work going on in the background, maybe at a lower level, despite the violence that carries on?
Well, I've heard off the record that, yes, there are some channels of communication still open at some levels. And what's interesting to think is that if we have two variables. The first one is President Trump, whose foreign policy is quite unpredictable. And so if we take the example of Korea, maybe this means that the talks could be revived, even though they are dead at the moment, could be revived in the future with the Taliban. So that's number one. And then the second dynamic is that the level of violence between the Taliban and the United States was at a very high level when the talks started in January 2019. So the level of violence hasn't reduced. And so what it shows is that the cancelling of the talks has nothing to do with the level of violence, because it's always been the same. So it leaves us to be quite optimistic about the reviving of those talks in the future.
Just finally, Victoria, note your title is that of Professor of Peace and Conflict Studies. I mean, I just wonder more broadly, when you do teach, does anyone genuinely feel that peace can come 18 years down the track now? And you could go even longer than that and say that Afghanistan has not been at peace for decades before that as well. Is there any optimism that you see out there?
Well, we see peace in the classroom. We've got students from 33 of the 34 provinces of Afghanistan, and they study together in peace, and they're quite happy to learn with one another. And I think that they're very optimistic. They know that they don't have a choice. They know that they're also the ones driving the future of their country, and this is why they're getting educated, for exactly that purpose. And so I would say that every day, once they pass our walls and they can actually get to our university in one piece and alive, they actually are working towards this peace on a daily level, yeah.
Maybe there is some promise there. Professor Victoria Fontana from the American University of Afghanistan. Great talking to you. Thank you.